after the swapping of sides. Guangdong Freaks start off with the Caitlyn ban, the Zeri on red side. Also kind of expected. It does mean that T1 doesn't get to ban out, you know, Nautilus, Rise, LeBlanc, straight 3 in a row. So will be interesting to see how they mix up their ban.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even hate if Guangdong first picked LeBlanc if it was given, you know, if they were given the opportunity to put Fate on his best champion. I think Guangdong need to draft not for tiers, but actually for their players. Love this Ahri ban targeted towards Faker, especially considering the fact that the LeBlanc first pick is a very strong possibility here. As the Twisted Fate is removed, and Guangdong have a lot of options here. Could just ban the Rise and be like, we're not going to play that early roaming style. We're not going to let that mid global come through. Corki, interesting here.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, Corki was played in the playoffs by Lava, where they got 3-0'd by Dalmonkia. I think that was more of a team diff, but Corki isn't really a big pick in the meta currently.
Well,
so.
I would disagree. I think it's a pretty huge pick in the meta still in playoffs, right? Like Fate also played it, won a game on it to get here. Like I think it's a pretty strong pick at the moment, but
I just don't think that Faker would ever play it.
Here, that's where I completely agree with you. I think it's a bad ban because I don't think T1 want to play a slow-paced game ever, basically, especially not in a series like this where some of their weaknesses and some of their vision, intricacies could be shown. All right, now let's go back to the draft at hand, though. Lee Sin taken away from Owner here rather than taking the LeBlanc pick, which means that's open for Faker as well. Jace is going to be given over here to Zeus once again, and they will actually deny Hoyt's Nautilus instead of looking for the LeBlanc. And I think if you're going to take the LeBlanc, you've got to take it now as Guangdong Freaks. And there it is.
Yeah. LeBlanc Prio should be way up there. I think you get Fate onto something really comfortable. The Vex, I mean, is something that Faker can easily play as well. As we do get eyes on Fate back at the team house on the comms, and LeBlanc will be the pick. I'm sure that Guangdong Freaks can reasonably expect a Vex pick.
And they make sure that, yeah, they 100% will see it. I think that hover was also kind of like a call out. Like, I know you're going to pick this, but I still am going to pick LeBlanc into you. The engage support that Hoyt needs is once again going to be the Leona. Now, what you lose by picking this Leona is the Gragas, because now T1 will be able to ban that one away in the second phase, so Keen won't be able to have that really comfortable matchup into the Jace, and they could also ban the Ornn with it. This was the obvious pick for Faker. So Gragas ban, potentially Ornn ban, and for Guangdong Freaks, you know, if you're planning on going down that weak side route once again for Keen, probably want to ban away things, 80 carries in terms of late game scaling ones for Gumayusi.
Yeah, not a bad idea. Let's see which direction they want to take the Malphite ban. Okay, showing some respect to some of the other counters that we have seen into the Jace.
Yeah, and this actually is great for Keen because it means he will be able to play one of those tanky weak side champions here without a doubt. The Malphite, he's also found success on. Is definitely one that T1 are going to zoom in on. The Xayah ban, even though it feels counterintuitive Xayah into one of these top tanks, it's actually worked out for the top teams here in the LCK, Ruler being the first to make it happen. We've seen Gumayusi pull it off, we've seen Deft pull it off, so it's one of the strongest 80 carries you can pick face up because she's so safe right now. Will they choose Ornn? Will they choose Gragas? I think I'd personally like to see the Gragas removed here more than the Ornn or the Scion because Keen is just so good at it, and they agree. But that's the trade-off of relying on Hoyt's engage supports, is now you lose that top side prio pick.
Yeah, as I pointed out at the end of the game one, Zaves was the only person in the booth, and I think a lot of that was just looking at the laning phase and how he could have handled the Gragas better. But one of the ways to handle it better is just to not allow Keen to play the Gragas. So I think it was definitely a sticking point for him. They're going to take that away. The Viego does get banned here. Another big jungle pick taken off the board from Owner.
Jinx is such a critical pick here. I would have rather seen that, actually. Viego works well with Vex, but if you ban the Jinx away here, you have a lot more power. Could even go something like an Ornn here and feel good about, you know, picking a later game 80 carry like Aphelios and getting those items online, but now picking Aphelios into Jinx, not really a viable option. Although, Ezreal in the bottom lane could be a great way to shore up some of your range issue here as Guangdong Freaks. Ornn, Ezreal, I would love to see it. feels very comfortable. You are going to have value on the ornaments, on Fate, on Teddy here in the later parts of the game. And, I mean, other options here, you know, Jin doesn't feel great, you know. You don't feel great about picking the Aphelios into the Jinx either, especially with the Jace on the other side. Misfortune gives you a lot of burst damage. Still personally like the Ezreal more, but they'll lock it in. Strong in lane with the Leona here. I feel good about that power, as this would be fun.
Yeah, we were expecting that. Okay, Nocturne. So taking a page out of Canyon's book. Owner definitely has been watching the games of Canyon, trying to best him. And now we'll see if he can play a better Nocturne. And I kind of like it, you know, him with the Vex, they go in together. It denies a lot of the engage opportunities from Kwangdong Freaks as well.
Teddy not taking cleanse here, and, you know, considering how the lane matchup is going to go, I agree with the choice, but it does mean that there are a lot of ways that this goes wrong for him. Vex, you know, gets on top of him, Nocturne presses R, he's dead, like no questions asked. And even with Hoyt being his personal bodyguard on the Leona, there's just not enough speed to even Zenith Blade somebody or just stun them with the Q to actually protect him. Like, Teddy is going to be, his positioning is going to be so important in this game. And every time he presses R to try to set up a neutral fight or look for a pick, that's the moment he'll be most vulnerable to Shadow Surge and a Paranoia coming through. And once Teddy's down, Fate, he has burst damage, he can pick off backline targets, but in a 5v5 without Teddy, it's not really winnable unless we see some crazy stuff here with the Lee Sin pick. If he's massively ahead, maybe, you know, that Ornn engage gives you opportunities. But right now, I really think T1 hard won this draft. They have a lot of range, they've got a lot of poke, but also follow-up hard engage from such a long distance. Their comp has it all.
It feels great for T1 as well. I think any kind of composition for T1 when you're feeling yourself, everybody's extremely confident. That kind of comp where you can kind of press your buttons and go is going to always be incredibly valuable. I think that Vex Nocturne together will offer that in spades after a ton of poke. Jinx became so strong partially just because she has a really safe landing phase and can't really be punished and scales really well, but also her poke is kind of insane. Like,
yep.
It's been one of the things that I've noticed the most, actually, between the zap, between the RFC rockets, just the autos, right? And then, of course, her super mega death rocket. You can poke someone out who's squishy before the fight even starts, and that's not even counting the Jace that you have on your team.
It's really similar to how Ziggs has also been used a lot of the time to just target the enemy AD carry. You hit him with an ult, then, you know, you just can't be a part of the fight, which is, again, why we, you know, as global casters here at the LCK, not a big fan of the Aphelios into the Jinx because he has such a big range problem. But now as Teddy, you're dodging Shock Blasts, you're dodging Gumushi Rocket, Zaps, so it's going to be very difficult. Now, the Ornn will shore up a lot of that and will be able to block a lot of that damage, but if he's up at the front, then you're vulnerable at the back to the Shadow Surge, to the Paranoia. Keen, his Ornn into the Jace, another matchup he's very comfortable playing on the weak side. See, historically, a very close matchup between these two champions here in the LCK. And what's really interesting about this pick for Teddy, the Misfortune, is obviously it's strong in the lane, and you're going to get a little bit of power there with your push that you have. But he's also really strong into squishy champions like the Vex. And if you get a tempo advantage and you can control team fights, like you can push the Vex out, you can actually burst the Vex down if she can't Shadow Surge you, if she tries Shadow Surge someone else. You know, with the lethality build here on the Misfortune, you just kill Faker if he goes in. So it is kind of same to a certain extent of Owner in the early game. So it is kind of a deterrent as long as he's not the one dying to that combo.
I was going to say, like, if everybody dives onto him, though, might not have too much time to react, but you're absolutely right. If Teddy's in a good spot and they engage onto a frontliner or anyone else, a bullet time to the face might make them think twice. And obviously the game state has to be in the correct spot for that to be an opportunity.
Laning going really well here, regardless here for Gumusi and Keria right now. Hoyt trying to help push this back. Level 2 finally hit here for Kwangdong Freaks. as Teddy started tier, so obviously showing a lot of respect here in the early part of this game. He just doesn't have the damage nor the survivability with this first item tier. Stacked a few of those early on in the mid lane, and is just looking to get this one finished as soon as possible.
One thing to note, you were talking about that storied matchup in the top side. We used to have this all the time. Keen did go for the unsealed spell book once again, and it's very important. You know, he will have some kill pressure if Zeus is not careful, so certainly something to look out for.
Yeah. Also, Fate's going to trade this really aggressively. Will lose his passive clone. And gives Faker a fear.
There's a fear, yeah. Faker is going to be able to at least push him out. He took a lot of minion damage as he was pushing forward, did Faker. But still, with Owner showing nearby, as now Faker is going to get flashed on. Will flash the chains very nicely there to survive after he gets himself into a wonky spot.
Yeah. Electrocute here for Fate. Definitely could have gotten the kill if those chains land. Very, very scary moment. Looked like Fate may have misplayed that actually at first, but then he turns it around after Faker misses the fear. Call take here for Zeus as well. I think is a great evolution of the Jace into tank matchup that we're seeing here in LCK playoffs, where you're not going to have kill pressure against this Ornn very early on. We're just seeing crazy trades here in the mid lane. So getting the extra gold from the call feels very fine, feels very safe, feels great. You're like, oh, I'm just playing for my mid-game win conditions and not actually the lane. Just going to shoot my range shots at him and kill the minions. And that's his job in this game, and he's doing a great job of it so far.
Yeah, especially against Ornn, who can just build armor in the lane. It's like, well, we're not really going to get a lot of value by rushing lethality here.
Yeah, let me get that Dirk online real quick so I can do nothing even faster.
It's just going to be, Ornn is going to be unstoppable. He is a tank bruiser god up on the top side, even after all the nerfs. And so...
Don't give them any more ideas, Valdez. I like to see Ornn in my games every now and then, you know?
I think that key might even have more kill pressure than Zeus, but will depend on where the junglers go.
Yep, and where those pillars land. As, speaking of jungle, Owner will come over here and get a deep ward up. So we'll know if Keen has backup or not when he hits level 6. I still think that's not where you want to paranoia your first time. But if there's some errors in lane, definitely could be an opportunity.
Keria.
Yeah.
Standing still and playing with this food. I mean, there is a Lee Sin nearby. You got to be careful, especially with your jungler up on the top side of the map here. Elam looking for the dive here as the wave does push in. Guma at about half health as it stands. Hoyt with the Ignite looking to engage there onto Guma. He has no chance of getting away from this one, but Hoyt will be traded back as Elam has to flash, but he will go down too. And Keria picks up a double kill after all that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the power of Nautilus on weak side. The ability to root anybody in these heavy dives is part of the reason why Nautilus is so popular with champions who are going to play weak side in the 2v2 who can be dove under turret in these scenarios. Faker's got 6. Ooh, doesn't land the Shadow Surge.
Could have been big. Instead, it was small.
It was, you know, it was very exciting, and I kind of like did the play-by-play like, ooh, because it didn't actually happen. I would have given it to you otherwise. Don't worry.
It's okay. I was ready.
But you know, 2 kills going over to Keria, not the end of the world, but with the kill back, it's going to mean that Keria calls out like, oh, are they diving? I think they're diving. Leona's coming in, and then of course the first root goes onto Leona, the second one onto the Lee Sin. And Lee Sin no flash, he's down. Yahoo!
Thank you for that translation, Wolf.
Yeah.
On the Yahoo.
He's not a big Bing or Google user.
True.
So the other thing about this kill is that it removes a lot of Teddy's pressure, so he actually doesn't take a CS lead or anything like that in the lane, as well. I was getting at before we got to see the really awesome Keria clip defensively there. Still, a kill goes over to Teddy. That's pretty nice, but, you know, with 2 assists going over the Jinx and the 2 kills to Keria, and the fact that Jinx is able to now freely lane is the bigger L. So, you know, Kwangdong Freak's not really getting what they were looking for with that dive. At the end of the day.
Very true. And, I mean, they saw that Owner had hit a Scryer's Bloom plant up on the top side, but it wasn't pinged, so I was also curious if they had a good amount of knowledge of where Owner was, because if he were there, I mean, that would have been even a larger gap. Not even just the double kill, would have been a lot more for the side of T1, as now everybody is roaming up to the top side here for the Rift Herald fight.
Yeah, and this is not something that, you know, Kwangdong are here in time for, just frankly. I think they definitely could fight for it if they were all grouped up, but T1 just has so much prio. Keen can Ornhorn his way to a turnaround here, especially with the bullet time, but it's just so late, no vision.
Void is just not here yet. I mean,
he's so far away.
As you pointed out, it's just the timing isn't good, and now T1 looking for the engage here, trying to get on top of the Lee Sin, and down will go LM Owner, flashing forward, and will not land the fear, but Teddy with the bullet time, trying to get that damage down, will at least be able to take out Guma. That's going to be another kill, though, for the Leona. And take a look at Keen up on the top side. He's just running away with no support for him either. He's trying to turn it onto Owner now. The flash comes forward, but he gets feared. And that will be a kill into the hands of T1. And this game is accelerating faster than Game 1.
Yeah, in Game 1, we really championed that Kwangdong were willing to cut their losses and give up the Herald, because they had a comp that had better late game scaling. They didn't need to force a fight there. And so many LCK teams will make this mistake into T1 with their high first Herald win rate. When they take these, they win. And I was talking about, like, oh, maybe they need to draft somebody to beat this. This composition with Ornhorn and with bullet time and the setups can actually win these fights. Not like this, though. Not where Ornhorn is completely useless, just hits Faker, because T1 collapsed into this choke point using the cover of darkness. Paranoia is perfectly timed. And yes, Teddy does trade one back with a bullet time that was given to him by T1 in a choke point. But without your support here, without vision, this is never a fight you could take. And it looks like somebody in the comms was like, we've got to fight for this. We can't give T1 first Herald again. They're going to take the whole map. So they forced it, but it wasn't the right call. And now T1 get first Herald and several kills. And this is a disaster.
It's what we talked about in Game 1, you know. It's always the trade-off. If you feel like you can fight for the Rift Herald, you have to be in position to fight for it. But if not, you're just going to get wiped and give it over. And that's exactly what we saw. Teddy was able to pick up another kill, so I suppose that is something. I would have loved, actually, to see the vision of Kwangdong as they were entering that fight end with the paranoia going up, because I would imagine that it would have been really scary, and not just because of the Nocturne. I think they would have just been totally in the dark, and it's like literally forcing through that same choke we've seen so many teams get pummeled in.
We saw like a flash of it right before Fate went over the wall, and you know, then it went back to full vision. And Fate went over the wall because he was like, well, I will try to give you guys some sort of idea, right? As Keen's trying to close in and set up for the Ornhorn, as Perry is super deep here. Fate already used his distortion.
Well, that ain't it, but we do have Paranoia. We did have Owner nearby, but elects not to go into that one, as some pings now onto the enemy support here. Hoyt looking for the engage, but will not find it onto Owner.
Yeah, T1 just get away with this aggressive roam mid lane. And Guma's just down here farming. You know, Teddy finds himself super behind.
Oh, this is Nocturne coming on in, and this is the power of Nocturne and Nautilus, I suppose, as they just make that look so easy. Keria with another pristine setup. It's now Elm's over the wall, but Faker's here too, as the teleport's coming in, but it's way too late. Elm's going to die before this even fully channels, is now Keen trying to turn it around. He will be able to knock up Faker, as Keria will eat a lot of this damage. The flash comes in, and finally Kwangdong gets something on the back of this all.
Yeah, will they get more? I don't think so. Got to be so careful fighting into Gumayusi at this stage.
Yeah, and fighting into a Vex as well, as the fear comes in. The damage, they got to be careful about this. Fate nearly goes down, and they're wasting so much time. They're giving so many plates over to Zeus in the top lane as we speak.
Yeah, Zeus is getting plates here. Teddy lost experience. He was already like 2 levels down. Now he's going to be 1 down for a second here, but Guma's probably about to hit 9. As Guma was oscillating between taking plates and doing auto attack damage in this skirmish. Plates go over to him here bottom side, and T1 have once again at 12 minutes nearly a 5,000 gold lead, 4.5 here or so at the moment, and 4.2. Let's, you know, be nice about it, but Teddy's 3 levels down. They're trying to set this one up. 2 level 7s against Zeus. See how it goes.
Yeah, Elm goes immediately up to the top side, but Zeus just flashes that one away, as the Jinx Rocket was even coming in, looking for the potential turn.
That's what Guma's like, oh man, could you have just kept them there a little bit longer? They actually win this.
I really need a kill. I mean, look at my KDA. It doesn't look that good right now. Zeus will get another plate here, I believe.
Teddy is not safe. You know, like, he needs to be very careful. Elam is nearby, but be so careful about taking these shock blasts. Going back down to this fight over here, it's just a really nice play from Keria. Look at Gumayusi. He's ready because he knows that when the Paranoia is set, he can guarantee the kill with his rocket. So he just blasts in at the perfect possible time. And then Kwangdong Freaks decide they want to try to force this, even with a Keen teleport. So you pointed this out, notice on the minimap, right now, Zeus is actually pushed under turret. But because this fight goes on for so long, he actually picks up some plates here. And only Faker gets hit by this, and he's still at full health. And then he's got fears. You can't chase into this choke point here. You're going to find yourself in a more disastrous situation.
Yeah, so they trade back the 1 kill, but Zeus got 2 plates. Is now looking for a play with a buffered dredge line into the wall. Carry is totally fine. He's going to be able to get away from the mid laner here as now fight down on the bottom side. Guma trying to go 1v1 against him and will be able to pull it off as Teddy will go down as this game has totally just gone into the trash. T1 have dunked him into it. As even the top side, yeah, Zeus is just dunking on him too.
I heard a loud thud when Kwangdong Freaks reached the bottom in the second game. And, I mean, Zeus, will they actually catch him here? No flash.
They will, yeah. Looking pretty good as he really trades it back, actually. But
Eclipse shield value, almost good enough to trade it. Rocket, though? No.
Not quite.
Not enough. No. I want to... Like, if there was a silver lining, and it would be very, very thin, like, we'd need a microscope to see it, and it would have to be verified, you know, by...
It's that new nanotechnology, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe Hextech technology, actually.
We'd have to get, like, the top men to assess the lining if it really exists, but there are 2 kills on Fate, as we're just going to watch once again this combo. Nautilus and Nocturne, the Nas. They're saying nah to your chance to go into the finals, Kwangdong Freaks, but... The silver lining here, I guess, is that, you know, arguably, there are ornaments coming online later, okay? That is going to be a thing that if we get to that stage of the game, they will have.
True.
This is a second kill for Fate, and he is able to save Keen's life here. So LeBlanc, best champion for Fate, 2-0-1. Doesn't have a Dark Seal or anything like that, but he's starting to become relevant. And if T1 play with their food a little bit, there are chances where, you know, Keria gets picked, Gumayusi gets picked, he's got cleanse, it's going to be tough, but there are ways, if we can really zoom in to where this goes okay for Kwangdong Freaks, but if you zoom all the way out, you can see the 6,000 gold lead, the Drake advantage here, the second Rift Herald going over to T1, the 2 turrets they've got, and it's not looking great.
I admire your ability as an analyst to find the very microscopic silver lining. It was very well done. But, let's see. Okay, Fate is going to go over the wall here and immediately just get clapped. Little do they know that Owner is also here, so now Ellum feared over the wall. Rift Herald was essentially taken just by Guma. I think he had a little bit of help. But now he's just going to go take another objective. Go take the ocean for himself.
Yeah, I mean, they just grouped up on top side. Look at all the wards around the second Rift Herald. And, I mean, it just makes it much more difficult for Fate to side lane because he doesn't have a turret up there. And, you know, if he finds himself getting picked, like if Faker goes up there because he can engage from a million miles away, like this is the power of Nocturne from ahead. 2,000 gold ahead of Ellum at this point, but Fate, it has to like wait for minions to come to him, and Ellum has to be nearby, and even then he doesn't feel safe. Like he's got to stay in the bush all the time. If Owner is on the top side of the map right now, Fate, excuse me, dies. He's dead right now. He's at less than half health.
Yeah.
He might still be.
Yeah, we do have Keria coming in, and now the Paranoia. He's not even here. He's going in on Teddy in the mid lane. 2 kills in the top side, but in the mid lane, Teddy had to flash and heal to get away from the Nocturne. So the Paranoia gets value in 2 lanes.
Yes. I mean, this is...
He might die now because he's just AFKing. But I think it's fine. He's actually maybe even turning this around. Oh, he's got a stopwatch. He's totally fine. As now Keen is going to go down. Best item in the game as now T1. I don't know, man. They've got a Rift Herald at 17.5 minutes. I don't think they can end the game, but the game is over.
Yeah, the game is over. I was trying to save that one for game 3, but...
You can say the series is over, perhaps, on that one.
Well,
That's what it's looking like.
We'll hold our breath on it for a little bit longer, but this is definitely going to be Inhibitor turret going down, and probably the Inhibitor with it, as Keria does have Hex Flash and can go over the wall here, so they have to respect him. Or not, like they might just die to him if the team was...
Look at this. They're trying to get their Inhibitor killed. I don't think it's going to work, though. And yeah, it seems like the Rift Trail did go down.
All right, so this is where Paranoia is going to get value in 2 lanes, because Keria sets this play up onto Fate. Like I said, he can't side lane this game. Just not allowed. Not allowed to do it. And then the Rocket's there too. And now over here, Teddy, Owner's like, where is he? Is there anybody nearby? And then he sees him and he says, aha. With the ward he has here, he has vision to actually Paranoia onto Teddy. Doesn't actually end up committing to killing him, but he gets both of his summoners. Then baits a team fight here because he has his spell shield. Didn't spell shield, unfortunately, at the center play, but who cares? Because at the end of the day, he does have stopwatch. No mana. The Nocturne is just a big target that unfortunately, or a big trap rather, that unfortunately Quantum Freaks fall completely headfirst into. And you've got to look for opportunities where you see him or where you think you see him at least, right? I mean, you're now 11,000 gold down, pre-20 minutes. And this is why I said to you guys in our group chat, the cast, if anyone's saying 3-1, we're going to have to raise some eyebrows at that because this series could not be more one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, this is looking more one-sided than the DK Bro series even, and that was very one-sided. Series isn't over, but again, this game certainly is. T1 taking their time, just pushing down all the lanes here. Fate is still in the top lane, trying to get that objective bound.
Here he comes.
Can't really blame him. As, yep, Shadow Surge comes in goes the Vex, in goes the Nocturne, and someone is going to die when you're this far ahead. 11,000, now 12,000. As another inhibitor will go down, they're really trying to push the issue here. The bullet time will be flashed away from. So another potential Shadow Surge will come in, but not going to pull the trigger on that.
Now T1 can siege up these turrets. They have that mid-wave coming through. This should be the end.
Oh boy, Fate gonna get caught on the LeBlanc, and they're looking for more. Owner has the spell shield and the GA, as he will just survive here 20 minutes in and 20 minutes out. That is going to be the end of the game. Teddy, the last question is, will he survive? Looks like the answer will be yes. As T1 loves to play with their food. Doesn't look like they'll get a kill. 20-minute win.